HRD Forum. I welcome you all. And today we are organizing a panel discussion on why HR fails. This program is jointly organized by HRD Forum and NIPM Nagpur chapter. Today we are very fortunate to have eminent panelists with us. Our panelists are Manoj Rajimwale, Principal Consultant HR, Siddharth Consultancy. Then Dr. Smita Singh, Associate Professor, IMT Nagpur. Mr. Ashish Khole, HR at Solar Industries India Limited. And Dr. Sangeeta Goyal, co-founder, Security and Policy Initiative, Delhi. I request Bhavesh sir to please welcome Manoj Rajimwale ji.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Who's word down?
Thank you. Now I invite Saurabh Singh. Saurabh, please welcome Dr. Smita. Yes, namaste.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And last remarks are to please welcome Dr. Goyal. Sir, kindly welcome Ashish Khole ji also.
Hello.
Ashish Khole.
Vivek sir.
Vivek sir, please kindly welcome Ashish Khole sir.
आपसे बहुत ज्यादा
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Suhas Biryavarji, NIPM Nagpur chapter, to please deliver welcome answers.
On behalf of NIPM Nagpur chapter, Vidarbha Industry Association HRD Forum, I welcome you all in today's session. Why does HR fail? We regularly used to conduct sessions on various topics. So this is one of the good topics wherein you will get opportunity to know why does HR fail. We have eminent speakers for today's to highlight on these topics. Mr. Manoj Rajimwale sir, Dr. Smita Singh ma'am, Ashish Khole sir, and Dr. Sangeeta Goyal ma'am. So this is a very interesting topic. In my opinion, why does HR fail? So there might be a different perspective or your views on this, like the poor communication, the lack of collaboration with the leadership, not aligning with the business needs, inadequate policies, neglecting employees' concerns, failing to attract top talent, not addressing compliance issues, inconsistent application of rules, and lack of data-driven decision making. Leading all these issues, I think the why does HR fails? There is the answer in that. But you must be eager to interact all this with all these dignitaries to listen their views on this topic, and this will be an interactive session to participate in this good topic in today's. Before that, I would like to pay a tribute to our senior leader of NIPM Nagpur chapter, who is no more with us, Dr. O.P. Vigilani, who was ex-director personnel of WCL and ex-chairman of NIPM Nagpur chapter. So a few months back, he's just passed away. So I request all of you to please stand up and be tribute to him. Now request panelist to proceed with the program.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to introduce our panelists. Our first panelist is Shri Manoj Rajimwalaji, Principal Consultant, HR, Siddharth Consultancy. He has vast corporate experience for over 35 years and has headed HR for some of the major brands like Globlast, Reliance Energy, Mumbai Airport, and Bharat Bijli. He's empaneled on the board of various professional bodies like NIPM, NHRD, SHRM, and various industries association, recognized with various awards and publications and featured in various journals. Please welcome Manoj Rajimwalaji. Our next panelist is Dr. Smita Singh Davorkar, Associate Professor with IMT Nagpur. She has been a visiting faculty at IMT Dubai as well. She has authored 3 books, and the latest one is in an international edition. She has been a GSE member to Sweden through Rotary International. She is certified psychometric assessor, consultant, columnist, and a motivational speaker. Welcome, Smitaji.
Thank you.
Then we have Dr. Sangeeta Goyal. She is a scholar and former senior civil service officer with expertise as a faculty member in HRM, organizational behavior and public policy. She holds a master degree in policy and management from USA, alongside a doctoral fellowship in management from MDI. Her exceptional work earned the prestigious 2013 Emerald and Academy of Management South Asia Research Award, presented in USA. Dr. Goyal is also a co-founder of Security and Policy Initiative, a startup dedicated to policy innovation, and she has presented her work at major international conferences. Welcome, Dr. Goyal. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Ashish Kholeji, HR Head Solar Industries India Limited. Basically, he is an engineer and completed MBA and MLL from Pune University. He has diversified experience to work with auto giants like Mahindra and Mahindra, aero and defense business of Tata Group at various locations, and connected with different socio-political institutions, and trying to play the role of catalyst for making change in mindset. Please welcome Ashish. Now I invite Manoj Rajimwalaji to kindly moderate this session. Please.
Good evening, friends. Good evening. And welcome again to all eminent panel members here. And before we start this discussion, let me just open for today's topic. Why HR fails? And many times we all start looking at ourselves. It's going to be for me. Are the HR people are going to remain at the receiving end today? So the topic is like that. So yes and no, because when we talk about HR fails, so let me tell you, HR doesn't fail. people who are executing HR, be it HR policies, HR strategy, HR practices, or continuing with the usages which are there. How we do that, how we execute that is something that is going to be the main question today. The most important, before going into HR, let me just give you a little background on where is the industry standing today and what sort of practices we have been doing. If you see last 2 decades, where from HR traveled and where is the industry from there. So we all have seen that we all gone into right from your industrial age was to older thing, but we got into information age, right? Things were started working differently, and today it is all into digital. Now, with the change in industry, the expectations of industries have changed. The environment issues are different. And while looking at this, HR still remains not that HR is not executing their role, but what is more important, in addition to that, whatever you have been doing, what you need to add further and what is expectations of industry from HR in terms of HR role in the organization. So there are 2-3 things, and when we everybody today we all talk about strategic HR, and we all feel like this is something different that we need to do and kind of thing. So whatever HR does, because what is the strategic asset for organization today? It's people, right? There is nothing, there is no other asset which cannot be copied other than people and their abilities. And HR is managing that. So you are already into that strategic role. Whatever HR does, it should have a strategic bent of mind. Meaning what? Whatever transactions you are doing, even if it is transactional aspect, you need to see that what impact are you making. That's something very important than just taking the activity further. You know? So I see from this perspective, there are 3 important aspects. I would not only focus on HR as a professionals of fraternity, but what is more important in this is, number 1 is environmental aspects. So organization should have an environment where HR gets that role, HR gets its really part of what they need to play. You know, that is the first thing. Many times organizations don't even consider HR and look at HR only from transactional point of view. कि आपने पेरोल किया कि नहीं, अप्रेजल का कैलेंडर भेजा है कि नहीं. But we need to, there are so many important aspects when we discuss senior level promotions. Many times I have seen organizations where HR is not there and then finally they, ये हमारी 8 की लिस्ट है और बाकी लोगों का वो है, वो लेके मॉडरेट कर लेते हैं. So they will sit for moderation for rest of this. Third important thing is design aspects. When it comes to developing new policies, new systems, new processes, either you call a consultant from outside or you will ask someone or you bring something which is being practiced in some other organization and you try to copy as it is. Now, these things never work. And what happens is nobody looks at execution aspects of it. Nobody looks at what consultant is saying and what is going to really work in my organization in this sector is not seen. And towards the end, they say, oh, we have done all that. There's a huge compendium we have developed for job description and this and that. But today it's not executing, it's not getting implemented. Now people start asking. So has HR been involved or HR's views are taken at the time of start of the design process? Have the HR been asked to see that what can be digested in the organization, what cannot be digested in the organization? And third thing is it something really required for the business? So these are the important aspects which environmentally also is important. Now, the most important aspect coming is HR is not many times able to influence HR's most important job is to influence stakeholders. Because when you are managing the strategic asset of the organization, it is you who need to look at what is that organization is really looking from the perspective of people. Okay. So HR is something which is, and it all depends on HR's competence. Why you can't influence? If you have confidence, if you have competence, you are develop your conviction, you can put things across. I think it will work. I will give few examples. I mean, even in transactional matter, a very small thing. Last one example, I'll send it. Then panel will take care. So I tell you, statutory compliances is a very basic thing. We all are doing. It's most transactional work, right? Now, please remember Winstron Corporation. How many of us know Winstron? Some 3 years back, they were the partner for Apple and started manufacturing laptops and mobiles in India. And what happened? In 1.5 years' time, the whole office was ransacked by the employees. Now, today, we know that the system is such where most of the employment is generated through contract labor. Okay. Now, his HR job is only to make payroll of contract labor and see that the license has been taken by the contractor or not, or we need to look beyond. Now, today, what happened in this new era, many times people go with very different notions. वो contractor को दिया हुआ है, हमको कुछ देखने का नहीं, contractor will manage. It doesn't happen. The law doesn't allow you to do that. There is a provision of principal employer. Now, what happened in this company? The wages of the people were not paid for 2 to 3 months. I mean, there were so many issues. So number of days I have not paid for the complete 30 days. Many times these people were working on 12 hours shift. There was no overtime. And on top of that, people were asked for overtime. Now, second important thing in this is the engineers who were given first time offer and later on the revision which was said after 6 months, this is what we will revise, it was not done. Now here the role of HR comes in place. Our job is to ensure that it is not statutory compliance only. When we know that I have a 300 people or 500 people, or there were 10,000, they were working for you. Aren't we responsible for their paid packages, their salary, their wages come on time? They should get all this. Those small things, if HR would have taken into consideration and would have sent with that long perspective in mind, might be we might have avoided this kind of incident which happened. It took long time for India to recover out of that. And still Winstron is on probation by Apple, meaning they are not giving new work to them. So any job that HR, whether it is transformational work or a transactional work, the importance, what am I going to, how, whatever I am doing, how it is going to impact the larger picture in the organization is something very important. And HR need to look at that, how it is going to impact and what will be the implication. If those things are to be taken care, and this is where when doesn't see people, finally what happened, HR didn't take care of these things. So with this, I would like panel to start and have their views on this topic. So, then you start?
Yeah, why not? Good evening, esteemed office bearers of Vedanta Industries Association.
सुबह नहीं क्या
I feel,
8 बजे एक महाराज आएगा
it's such a privilege and honor for me to be with all of you and sharing the dais. Then my esteemed colleagues from industry and academia, and my fellow panelists and dear students of HR. Today's question is why HR fails. I have been an academic and I have also been an HR professional and have seen evolution of HR, from administration and personnel to HRD to HRM and now HR, strategic HR being talked about it should not be treated as cost center, it should be treated as profit center. So obviously, I find this question a little harsh, if not cruel. Does it HR feel? Really, always, all circumstances, across the organizations. It's perhaps a very, blanket call. HR, in fact, on the contrary, most of the time, it attempts to support the strategic intent of the organization. It plays a very crucial, silently, working towards that role by attracting and managing the talent an organization requires, working on creating conducive environment, and then moving towards the culture in which an organization can thrive. Problem is that when all goes well, we say, oh, what HR is doing? Sit on the sidelines. If you're a cost center, you should be chopped. When something goes wrong, like some industrial dispute, some IR issue, some accident, hey HR, what are you doing? Other than, we are incurring huge costs on them. And as I was talking to Manoj in the beginning, that we love to fire if we are in operations, if we are in sales, if we are, in any department from the shoulders of HR. If unions are troublesome, they are creating issues, HR handles this. If there is issue of non-compliance, HR handle it. Okay, now I would like you to think about, something like you enter an office, a beautiful office, and suddenly you get the vibes that, wow, you're getting positivity, you're getting, the air of creativity, and you are getting people working in a highly motivated manner. What is behind it? The magic of great HR, isn't it? Silently working from behind. Well, you agree or you disagree, HR handles the most complex, the most enigmatic, and most unpredictable machinery of organization, that is human beings. And mind you, you know it, no two humans come with the same manual. Well, kindly bear with me. So I would say HR may be failing in some specific circumstances. Here, I would like to show you some interesting data, because what I'm saying, you may think, what is the basis? Well, can you please play slides? So I have a few slides. This is not me. This is, the perception about HR. Yeah. Okay. So till he fixes, this is report of Gartner. 29% of employees, they trust HR only. That HR works in their best interest. So Manojji, I will agree with you. On certain counts, they are not able to manage the perceptions. Okay, what they are doing. Next slide.
Next.
I do it. Yeah. 43% of small business employees, they do not feel comfortable confiding in HR department. Why? Reason could be they feel that HR is a kind of a stooge of higher-ups, of board, of CEO. It doesn't work in the best interest of employees. So it doesn't win the trust of people. 40% of HR professionals don't even know about the skills of their workforce. Obviously, here, serious problem. Harvard Business Review, they found that a strong onboarding, which is one of the basic functions of HR, this could boost productivity of new employees by 62%. And increase the retention rate by 50%. Unfortunately, only 12% of the companies surveyed by Gallup, they believe that their company had a good onboarding process. 72% of people did quit in the company surveyed because of the toxic work environment at their workplace. I would definitely, It calls for fixing the responsibility. Hey, HR, what you were doing? Some more data. Retaining employees is identified as the biggest issue of by 47% of HR managers, not anybody else. Hey, you are telling this or you're fixing this. There is a gap. Forbes report that 95% of HR leaders, they agree that burnout is a major problem. Again, HR, you need to do some introspection for sure. But how about now about HR's own interesting survey by Forbes, where they say almost 100% of HR professionals worldwide, they are on the brink of burnout. They are struggling to adapt to evolving workforce dynamics. Things have changed, times have changed, organizations have changed, aspirations of our workforce, including the demographics, have changed. Now, technological advancements. They are every day, technology is changing. However, 31% of HR leaders, they feel negatively about adoption of AI making decisions. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in this scenario, surely we have to ask, well, in some specific circumstances, HR fails, and what to do, and why it fails, when it fails. So blanketly, HR doesn't fail, but yes, HR fails when it fails. Why, how, what to do to other matters.
Yeah. Yes. Can I take that or am I audible? Yeah. Good evening to everybody present in the audience. We must appreciate some of you who are here on time, and we value and we respect your being here on time. We also value others who managed to reach. Okay, you must have really struggled hard to be here on a working day, so we appreciate and respect that as well. So very good evening to everybody, and a very good evening to my co-panelists here. And it's such an honor to be with all of you. Great. So the topic is very interesting, and when Dr. Suresh called, unfortunately, he's not with us today. He's fighting a very personal exigency in Prayagraj, and we are all with him in spirit. It was his initiative. This was his thought to organize this panel discussion, along with his, of course, teammates from NIPM and VI. Now, this topic of why HR fails, when I heard about it for the first time, I felt, yeah, it's something brilliant, because we don't really talk about failure so much in the first place. We always want to talk about success, what leads to success and what gives success. But largely in life, it is failure that we all face on day-to-day basis, right? From small affairs that we get into on everyday basis to big management decisions. Failure is a common thing to experience. So I really appreciate a dialogue on failure. We will see a different perspectives from each one of us. I look at it from the paradoxes perspective. HR paradoxes are very challenging. With the changing times, people who are in this function, they are battling very different battles. They are supposed to look at having an agile organization. At the same time, they have to make sure that it has certain kind of rigidity and fixedness in the organization. It is struggling with outside in approach versus inside out approach. For a long time, HR was something which was like an ostrich burying his head into the sand, and is not bothered about what's happening around. That was a long backstory. It was a historical approach, but very, very, fortunately, it has changed drastically. Although when we say this, even today, HR people, largely have to think from the business acumen perspective is what I feel. Even today, when we talk to people, students in the institute, and we ask them, when I generally start my HR course, my first question is, what do you think you'll be doing as a HR person? Now look at the mindset people have. When we say HR is failing, we have to also understand where the root cause is. So these girls and boys whom I'm talking about, they are meritorious students. We have real brilliant students coming to us. And the story is not very different wherever you go. So the first question I ask them in my HR class is, what do you think HR will end up doing? And largely they say, oh, it's a desk job and we'll be doing some hiring decisions and we'll be recruiting people, we'll be managing talent. I said, okay, is it a desk job? So then you are highly mistaken, because if sales was going into the field and if HR was the desk job, then I think you're 50 years old. Okay, you're talking about something which doesn't exist anymore. So the mindsets have not changed even today, largely. They look at their role as limited to this hiring, the promotions, managing the appraisal, the competencies that need to be mapped, and talent the training need analysis that needs to be done. Somewhere where the HR has grown from these traditional roles to that of looking at herself or himself as a business partner, she or he roams around the organization and understands and feels the organization from within. Now, when we talk about, again, from the perspective of failure, largely why people fail, if we look at the bigger picture, is because we do not have data where things are going wrong. Now, it's a very interesting thing. Failure is an outcome, but things start going wrong from various places, and there are different points. There are different what you can say tools. There are different joints, places from where we can collect data, we can understand, we can receive. Listening is what I'm coming to as a skill set. There are very interesting concept of active listening given by Carl Rogers, and HR people I think need to work on that too much, because listening, as we generally, we feel it's an easy thing. I mean, I just have to listen to somebody, right? That's it. But Carl Rogers and other researchers have given 5 levels of listening, very interestingly. And how many people listen? How many HR, and like, again, listening, when I said 3 things. One is points. So, where do you go and check for feedback? Where do you go and check how things are happening? Then at what frequency you're doing it, how frequently you go and talk to people at the shop floor, in your different franchising somewhere in the country, different what you can say departments, how much do you travel inside and outside the organization to feel the organization, is what we need to focus on when we talk about failure, again, because I feel it's a very big terminology, but where do things start going wrong? So if listening can be improved as a competency, so there are 5 levels of listening, as generally people talk about this particular competency. First is when we listen only to get a gist, and I will not ask who is listening, how right now it could be very embarrassing. Okay, but if you can do some reflection and check at your end where you fall, I'm just going to tell you this 5 levels. So first is listening for gist, oh, I got the gist, now I can jump into something else. Second is where you get a trigger. Oh, yes, this is the point I want to cross. This is the point I want to negate. I will not accept this. Is where we stop listening and we get into the argument. Third level is, when we listen for logic. I have my own logic, I'll give that. And I'm not bothered about how it fits your story or not. Fourth level is when you become a little empathetic and you listen and you want to listen, but some ego issues come and play their role. And fifth level listening is, when you build empathetic curiosity to listen. We have 2 years. My husband keeps telling me this all the time because I speak a lot. Okay, and he's listening to me for a change. So, so he keeps telling me, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Think about it. Why? God gave all of us 2 ears and 1 mouth, because I think we need to listen more and speak. Then I keep telling him, because I earn my money through speaking, so don't stop me by talking, because that's where I get my money from. But in the lighter vein, of course. But as managers, blanket, all the managers, and HR specifically, I guess, need to improve on this competency. I brought this perspective, I think, to the discussion, and I now pass it on to other people to take it ahead. Yes, thank you.
First of all, thank you, Priya, and other team members sitting over here for allowing such type of a discussion to happen. So, let me be honest with you, when I heard this topic, I literally shouted on this. I said it's a negative connotation. And at least we being an HR professional, we should not talk on this topic. But then there are a lot of deliberation has happened, and then finally we have decided let's go ahead on this topic. Someone has said probably it's an courageous decision. So there are a lot of organizations who started inventing in terms of dare to fail. So it's like a dare to fail by VI and NIPM sitting over here. So thanks for that. So I, my probably out of these four panel member, uh, I'm probably having some different exposure being an HR professional. So I handle the business independently as a business head for a period of four years, and then I have seen how the business person can perceive the HR professional during the critical time, during the tough time, and what are the expectation of business head from an HR professional and HR team member. So I was very fortunate to having both the views from a business point of view and from an HR point of view. So after spending so many years in the HR and as well as in the business, I believe that this is a perception. In terms of whether HR fails in the organization, I think it's a complete perception. And unfortunately, many times the perceptions are reality. And nowadays it is getting imbibed in people's mind that HR is failing. So people sitting over here are from Vidarbha region. So probably, if you remember 25 years back, the situation of Vidarbha from an industrial situation, was current situation was better than that situation?
No.
No,
This situation is better, yes.
this situation is far better. And trust me, a lot of credit goes to the HR professionals who have actually put their effort to bring this harmonious peace at this location. When we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat is a dream developed on the basis that the skill set will get developed, that competency will get developed. Probably the people who manage the human resource have ability to develop that ecosystem in the country. And on the basis of that, the Prime Minister of India has seen that dream, and all of us have seen that it is getting fulfilled every day. Do you really think that HR has failed? I was just seeing certain number. The industrial growth 10 years back was 5.2%. But today, industrial growth is 14.3%, huge. All of you have heard about the semiconductor projects which we are trying to bring at the India. And we were facing the problem of semiconductor not today, but since long. This is the first time when India decided that semiconductor will be the powerhouse of the semiconductor. Trust me, this is not only on the basis of the business acumen which we have, this is more on the basis of the capability of developing the human resource capacity to make that dream into the reality. And when I'm talking about the human resource, I'm not talking only about the HR. The Smita sitting over here is also playing the role of human resource. Probably all the analysts sitting over here for developing the human who particular skill set are playing that role. Trust me, my friends, if you really see the work which are done by the HR fraternity in last 10 to 15 years across the industry are phenomenal. My few female colleagues sitting over here, remember the POSH, the awareness of the POSH and the stringentness of that POSH 10 years back, 15 years back and today.
Yeah.
You will find a huge difference. All credit goes to the HR people who have been operating in the organization at different level and different verticals. I'm not saying that, see, in any profession, if you keep the debate, whether the CEO has failed, you will find there are a lot of reasons and there are a lot of pockets. Probably the CEO has also failed in probably delivering their duties. So in any profession, when you enter, you will always find a bunch of people who probably not able to perform their duty in a right manner. But if you really see the ecosystem which has been developed in the country in last 10, 15 years, lot of credit goes to the HR people sitting over here and sitting across the different organization. If you really see, probably if we want to focus on this topic, and we really feel that we want to further strengthen ourselves. I think the one of two things which I observed where we really need to work upon in terms of the data analytics. So many times it has been observed that HR people take the decision on the basis of intuition and probably on the basis of whatever the information or the direction come from their senior rather than actually analyzing the data. We are very poor in data analyzing, and many times we believe that that's not our work. So don't go into that area. Second, which the biggest area of improvement, which I always believe that lack of financial knowledge. If I really ask the HR people to read the balance sheet and then come out with your own analysis and probably the solution as an HR professional, probably most of the HR people will say that's not our job. That's the second area of improvement which we really need to focus upon. The third thing, and probably the education system, and again, it's a generation, it's an AI, probably everything is getting online. We are losing the importance of industrial laws and regulation knowledge which HR people are having. Day by day, you are observing that people are getting away from that the core knowledge which is the core strength of any organization. Unless and this person has a knowledge about IR, unless and until the person has a knowledge of statutory compliances, he will never be able to perform the complete duty of HR professional. But now the fad has been that the HR will only do a talent management. Big jargons has came. The HR will only do a succession planning. And I think there we are losing our uniqueness, and there we are losing our strength being a business partner and safeguarding the business for the future, any possible hazard. And I think these are the two areas where we really need to work upon as an HR professional. But trust me, and all of us sitting over here, unfortunately, has experienced the period of COVID. And these are the HR people who have actually mitigated, who have actually taken all the organization out of this corona, are standing over there without taking the leave of single day. And these are the HR people who have given the new hope to the country and said that we are standing and we will ensure that the organization will run smoothly. So if you really ask me, this whether the HR has failed, I think it's a perception. And all of us sitting over here have the duty to clear this perception and to ensure with our strength and probably our capability on day-to-day basis, how we can make our position more better in the boardroom, more better in the strategic decision, and more better in the minds of the people who are driving the business. That's the views which I wanted to put over here.
So, all the three panel members have really analyzed the whole this subject very lucidly. And what to start with, the way Sangeeta ma'am has put up, is to shift from cost center to profit center. And we all need to know when you talk about cost center to profit center, what is that HR need to look at? And all the three panel members have put the most important aspect which we need to look at. So, and second important thing what she said is, and which is true, and you cannot do away with that, is many times things are fired from the shoulders of HR. That's a fact. I mean, this is really this fait accompli kind of thing. No? You cannot avoid that. What is more important thing is HR need to understand while dealing with people, that is what she stressed upon, is no two people are alike. And that is the beauty of organizational life. Every person has his own brain, he has his own thinking power, he has his own ways of looking at things, and everybody analyzes things with his own perspective. And that is where HR comes in play when you are dealing with people. So it was quite a good analysis, making things clear that HR need to look at how you are going to impact people. And when you are having an interaction, you need to understand the person sitting before you has also thought of things, and he has also his own perception about how these things or whatever the subject of which you are discussing. So, while Smita ma'am, she has put up a very important aspect which has come and which I definitely agree completely in all of you. And this is a very, very basic requirement is HR need to know business. Business acumen, and she put it, and exactly I completely endorse her thought, is when you have, if you are at certain level and if you have this management training comes, I think initial few months, at least 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, the person should know ki where have you entered, what is that industry is working for, what product is coming, whom are you selling, who are your customers, what are your revenue departments. So that makes you a good clarity of your stakeholder. And stakeholder management is the basic job of HR. So this is something which is very important. Another important thing is there are a lot of transactional things which HR is working on. And we cannot avoid that because it comes as a part of your work. But what is more important thing is against every transactional work, even if you are processing payroll, what impact are you expected to do? See, for payroll, when we grow in our position, payroll becomes very small, simple thing. But please understand, it's very sensitive matter for all the employees. And if you make little change in the kind of due payment which is expected to do, which gets delayed because of some mistake or some error from somewhere, you see how the sensitivity goes. And all this feedback or perception gets built with these small issues which we think as small, but they are not small. And the first thing that people always say that if you ask any people out of HR, if you go out of HR circle and ask people what is that one thing you expect from HR, they will say, ask them, don't play with my paid ration. My salary should come on time. It should come properly. My all benefits should come. Don't make, I'm making very small, simple thing. The person gets less number of days salary because his leave application was not sanctioned by manager. Now that month he has got 25 days as against 30 days. Next month, those 5 days to be adjusted, it should be paid. Any delay on account of that, the impression goes HR has no sensitivity. They don't care. So these are the very small thing what she has stressed on. These transactional things we should always see. By doing these transactional things, where we make impact and how it is going to affect organization. We need to think, so that thinking part is very important. So very well analyzed this thing. Coming to Ashit sir, and he has put up one thing because he has played both the roles as business and HR. And what he rightly said is when you talk about business, business is definitely which is required, but HR need to understand what value you are creating in the organization. See, today, when it comes to where is HR really needs to work on, I'm not saying failing because that may not be the right way of putting it. Measurability and measurability of anything that you are producing. Measurability comes out of what? What Mr. Ashish has stressed on, the financial understanding. You need to know if these things improve, if my productivity improves by so many percent, how it is going to impact my bottom line, how it is going to see in P&L, my employee cost is going to get impacted out. That much understanding, knowledge is really required. He was, the most important thing what he said, and a true HR professional, that really HR is failing is a question mark. And we as a very sincere fraternity of HR who is trying to, make what you call it, your own evaluation. Okay.
Postmortem of
Not postmortem, but I mean, there are people like what he's saying is there is hardly anything what mistakes happen with you also. That's what which is right. But what is important is what is self introspection kind of thing.
Yeah.
That we are doing today, and that the purpose of that is only to add value. We all are doing the things. Can we do the things with some thinking? If you see that everything that I am making, is it making impact somewhere? And this is something very important. So the whole topic came up very well. Another very important thing, Smita ma'am spoken quite a lot on listening. I would say just two things. We all, most of the times, are selective listener. The moment we are in meeting and somebody starts talking, we first immediately start our mind. Counter kya karna hai? So instead of thinking, listening, I start making my strategy in my mind. How am I going to, what points am I going to counter? So that is something which is not going to work till such time you hear the person completely, you will not be able to start. One very important point which Ashish sir has said is about knowledge on statutory and labor laws. I think people think abhi IR ke din chale gaye. I heard a lot of this. Please don't have that wrong conviction in your mind. It never happens. Today what happened is people say they don't know how to write charge sheet. They said, I'll go to advocate and get it drafted. If anything, they say, advocate can give you a draft, advocate can give you this, but advocate cannot study your IR situation and create tactical plan as to how to deal with the situation. And if you want to do that, as you rightly said, you have to have a complete knowledge of provisions of the relevant labor laws. Because otherwise your whatever tactical plan you are making is going for fun. So this is something very, very important. What is coming from all of this is lots of deep knowledge. We need to go more detail oriented into the things. We need to understand if everything that I am making is going to make impact somewhere, and I need to know where it is, what will be the implications of that, and how I need to be a little more careful and little more cautious as to what am I doing. So it was a great first round of this. Now we will go to two important things which I want panel to again get into and look. One is the understanding of real problems where people put stigma on HR, particularly other functions. What we call HR fails. So understanding of what are the issues, what are the problems, and second thing is what are the mitigating plan? What is that we need to do to overcome it? Even if it's a perception, we need to understand because end of the day we have to listen to the people we are working for them. So, and what are the mitigating plan? How we are going to work on that and how we are going to cross over this?
Yeah. Thank you, Manoj. Um, So where does HR go wrong? That's what in a nutshell I understand. Of course, from the points you covered, that they have to do the basic things, which are now considered to be ancient things. Okay, knowing the labor laws, ensuring compliances, knowing the pulse of the people around IR, and so on and so forth. But the issue is that yes, you should not be too myopic in your focus. Compliances are important, very important. I'm not saying they are not important. But you should not be just compliance driven, agency. Okay, my role is Workmen Compensation Act, labor, that Industrial Dispute Act. I just keep, maintaining the status. And to ensure that my board, my CEO or my chairman is not, stuck up in any litigation. I think you have to go beyond. If you have to make an impact and you want the perception around to be changed that HR doesn't fail. HR is not only a cost center, HR is profit center. And the best way I think is going to be that you have to behave like their business partner. You have to forge a strategic alliance with them. I think it's a very tough call. It's a very big call, but then somewhere the beginning has to be made. So first and foremost, requisite will be that you should know the business policies of the organization. You should know its strategic intent, which direction it is going. And then contribute towards that goal, contribute towards that direction. Again, you should be proactive, not just reactive. I give you here two examples, One was being too much of compliant, and very tiny, very small example, but I think it's a big learning lesson for me also. When I was working as additional general manager in Office Factory Ambajari some time back, this guy, some workman, went at the lowest rung. He got, I got the complaint finally that he's to be suspended, charge sheeted. Why? Reason? I went through the file. He had stolen 1 ream of photocopy paper. What is it? It left me thinking. I'll call this guy because if you know they are paid pretty reasonably well. for the level they are there. I said, तुमने क्यों ये निकाला, लेके क्यों गए? गार्ड ने पकड़ लिया. He broke down. मैडम पूरा दिन यहाँ रहता हूँ, ओवर टाइम करता हूँ, उसके बाद फिर इज द टाइम मैं कहाँ खरीदने जाता, बेटी को प्रोजेक्ट करना था, कल स्कूल में देना था, एंड शी टोल्ड मी डोंट कम होम विदाउट ब्रिंगिंग फोटोकॉपी पेपर. Now would you like to comply with the norms which say चोरी तो चोरी है 4 पैसे की या बिलियनियर्स की मिलियंस की टैक्स चोरी, एक बंदा रोटी चुरा रहा है भूखा, somewhere you have to take a call. यहाँ पे आप मिलियंस बिलियंस का टैक्स एवेशन कर रहे हैं, would you treat them alike? I'm sorry. Corruption हो रहा है, would you treat them alike? I'm sorry. Here, HR managers, they have to be the people with conscience, they have to be the conscience keeper. And at times, your big ones, you know, the people at the top, they may not like it. They may not even appreciate it. They may not even understand it. So what do? Again, as I said, it's a tough call, but you have to take. And as Ashish ji told me, look, a huge has been done, you know, in the gone times by HR professionals. And maybe they silently they do that, you know, they bring out it via media. अच्छा, tempers भी ना run high हो ऊपर और नीचे उसको भी हमें manage करना है. Does it really, you know, does it really call for suspension? और आप सस्पेंशन करने के बाद क्या कर रहे हो? You're paying him 50%, वो घर पे बैठेगा, maybe दारू पिएगा, स्ट्रेस में और ज्यादा. आपकी प्रोडक्टिविटी, आपका मैन आवर्स लॉस, एंड वो केस चलता रहेगा 1 साल 2 साल 3 साल, यू नेवर नो. अभी कुछ रेस्ट्रिक्शंस आ गए, यू कांट गो बियॉन्ड, यू नो, सर्टेन पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. सेकंड थिंग, यू हैव टू बी वेरी प्रोएक्टिव इन द सेंस लाइक you wait for an accident to happen. Why don't train people in safety? You know, what happens? Unfortunately, हमने ट्रेनिंग की, अगेन कॉस्ट, पैसा कहाँ है, फंडिंग कहाँ है, तुम हमारे आदमियों को निकाल रही हो. Which department gives people, you know, spares people for training? Well, you have to somewhere in dollar terms, in rupee terms, you have to show it to the stakeholders around that look, whatever costs you are earning, I'm giving you return on investment. So you have to translate your product, your service. Now question will be, हम क्या produce कर रहे हैं? हम तो services दे रहे हैं. No, you have to dollarize. You have to in rupee terms because business को पैसे की भाषा ही समझ आती है. आप वही दिखाइए ना वहाँ पे कि मैंने इतना ट्रेनिंग किया सेफ्टी में एंड इतने एक्सीडेंट अवर्ट हुए जो हो सकते थे. I hope I'm making sense. Then, as one of the panelists said, these days, you know, technology is there. Things have become easier. Technology is a daro nahi. HR people, it's your friend. It's not going to replace you ever because the kind of empathy, sympathy, you know, the emotional quotient you have, AI ke paas to nahi. And people, they understand that language. So they will not understand AI, they will understand you once you connect with them. And this gives you a lot of data analytics. I think if you have data and if you use that data properly in dollarizing, in converting your initiatives, HR initiatives taken in proactive manner, you know, in rupee terms, look, इतना पैसा मैंने आपको बचाया. इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट जो आज से 5 साल पहले इतने सारे होते थे नहीं हो रहे हैं. This is the cost saved to you. I think people will understand. Perception will change.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really agree with what ma'am has been saying. I'll continue with what I was saying and also try and connect the dots. Why HR fails, again, bringing our attention to that question, if we believe that is happening in the first place. One answer I felt is a lot of HR jobs, HR functions are being outsourced, right? Because we have so many consulting organizations around us, and because it is perceived as a cost center. So, you know, that you want to bring in a lot of efficiency and you believe that efficiency will come by giving it to respective specialists. So you give your appraisal to one organization, you outsource your recruitment to another organization. And in the process, what you're doing, you don't realize you're spoiling the entire culture of the organization. Because these processes are not processes that operate in silos. They operate, and it's not a watertight compartment, it's all, you know, together, a well-niched structure. So now there are different people, 80% of organizations for your information, for your knowledge in India as on date, they are outsourcing most of their functions to outside organizations. Now, when we talk about why something fails or why something succeeds, we also have to understand the character part of the organization. What does the organization engage on day-to-day basis? Is the learning on in the organization? Because see, when we talk about the word failure and success, it's about learning, end of the day. If you're learning well, if the practices are well, oiled practices, then there is no scope for failure. Of course, still there can be exigencies. There can be certain, things that can go haywire. But largely, you will be aware about where you are heading. So what I feel is, Ashish ji, let me tell you very interesting thing that many organizations whom we do a lot of training, not as an institute I'm talking about, generally as HR. When they have training programs, and we go and I think all of us are trainers also, even those who are sitting at that side, we have a great trainer, Bhaveji, sitting in front of us. Okay, Shobha ma'am is here. So many veteran people are there on that side as well. So we all have been doing training. How many organizations actually sit down with us as trainers and explain us what they really need from at their end? What exactly we need to train their employees on? It's just a calendar and they have certain things to be done. And so there's a tick, tick, tick for this year, and we get the money, we also train, they are also happy. I'm not using the blame game theory here, okay? We all are part of the same family, we're all HR professionals. I remember one story about solar, and let me cite that because you're here. I remember we were doing a training program for solar. It was 6, 7, 8 years back, if I'm not wrong. And we had a very senior person. I am forgetting his name. Maybe in my contact list. He came down and he sat down with us and he had 3 meetings with us as trainers. What exactly he wants us to train, training to need to be imparted to his employees. And after rounds of discussions, when he was fully satisfied that the case studies that we will use, the examples that we will cite, and the pedagogy that we will use is okay, satisfactory, then he allowed us to enter your organization. And we know what Solar is doing. Okay, it's doing some phenomenal work, in this particular region today. So excellence will also be there, mediocrity will also be there in the same space. I think we need to look and focus at excellence and derive some learning from them. And in the first place, understand, are we learning organization or not? I'm not throwing words and jargons because I come from management teaching perspective, but I'm just trying to create some, reflection, if possible, post this panel discussion. I'll end my contribution with a story on Taj. We all know Taj as a great hotel, luxury hotel of this country, a great pride. But we also know what it went through a few years back, okay? The terrorist attack. And we have a veteran HR in India and our mentor for all of us, most of us here, Mr. H.N. Srinivas, who was heading Taj at that point of time in terms of HR as such. So when I was having a word with him on these lines, and he was in IMT very recently talking to our students, keeps coming down all the time, and helps students to understand the nuances of HR. He shared, something very interesting that they do as an organization on everyday basis. And that's how they can even address terrorist attack. I mean, who manages a terrorist attack? Which HR is managing a terrorist attack? Tell me in India who has done it in past. But they did it so very seamlessly. Where is it coming from? It is coming from everyday practices. I'll just share that little thing with you, and maybe we can copy that in our organization. So he said, what we do, Smita, on everyday basis, every Taj, resort, hotel, and palace for that matter. Okay, starting from Ginger, which is not even a Taj, it's just a Tata, hotel. Even from the Ginger to Taj Resort, luxury hotel and palace, the general manager, he sits down with his team. Okay, and the team, and it is a dominoes effect. So everybody with their own juniors sit down every day, and every week it's more rigorous. And they sit down and ask 2 questions to their employees who are working on the floor. Okay, floor here is the hotel. What did you see today, and what did you learn? 2 questions. What did you see today? What did you learn? And you will not this is it's such a simple thing to do, but because it is done on everyday basis and the top to bottom is engaged in reflection, in observation, in making notes and refining one's observation day after day, day after day, day after day.
Your problems get solved on the go. And before you could arrive, you could become a failure per se. All those issues get resolved on day-to-day basis. Largely, of course, even then organizations can fail. Even then there could be problems. We are not denying that. But at this juncture, I think we should pay some attention to the learning that is happening in the organization, whether it is happening or not, and how frequently you are doing it, and then how seriously you are doing it. So I think that was what I was wanting to talk about.
Great.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, probably I would like to keep things simple. And that's the mantra which I want to give. If we really want to be further effective in our job and in our personality. So I've seen many HR professionals who really want to make things complicated. So that other than us, no one should understand those jargon. So if we really want to be effective and accepted by people, try to keep things simple. Second thing which I observed in my career, initiatives, be it Fun Friday, be it employee engagement, be it outbound, initiatives for whom? Initiatives for management, initiatives for HR, initiative to get some brownie point, being and some KRAs of HR, or initiatives for people. We really need to figure it out. Are we doing the initiative which people are looking for? So many times we enter into that trap of doing the initiative for the sake of doing it. And then people start losing interest in the initiative. And importantly, they start losing interest in HR as a people. So though we may feel that this is a very small thing, but losing interest is always start with the small steps. So that's the second mantra which I wanted to give if we really want to be effective being an HR professional. Third thing, many times we believe that we are here for present. Trust me, any HR professional who works in an organization, he or she is there to develop future. By sustaining the present, they are there to develop the future. And mark my words, no HR professional So no HR professional will be successful and no organization will be successful unless and until their HR people have a mindset to develop the future. So are we really thinking for a future of the organization, or are we just seeing that the present and doing the day-to-day activities? The fourth thing which I really want to and all this point is not on the basis of the priority and not on the basis of ranking, and probably it be this would have been the important point, ethics and integrity. So I have seen there are so many HR people are getting trapped in wrong things. And as Meeta Madam has said, since we are from a same family, it's very important to touch that point. Ethics and integrity, we are considered to be a custodian of ethics and integrity of any organization. Losing the faith being an HR professional, when we compromise with our ethics, when we compromise with our moral, when we compromise with their integrity, is not only affecting your image, but is actually affecting the image of HR fraternity. But trust me, my friend, ethics and integrity is probably is something which actually the HR professional should drive in the organization, and not in the organization but across the society. And I think that's a very important aspect which we really need to look into. The important thing again, probably we really need to learn, and the trainer like Smita Madam, Bhavesh sir may help us in telling the management which they don't like to hear. Right. So we are very good in telling the thing which management will like to hear, but telling the thing which management will not like to hear, we really need to make ourselves equipped in those competencies and in those skill set. Probably Smita may help us in future to get those
I'll
skill
give my
set.
number to you.
Yeah. Another important thing is the people touch. So though I am a strong propagator of technology, strong propagator of all the new things which is coming into the play. But with this technology, with this AI, are we losing the knack of people touch? So now everything is online. PMS is online. So you just have to send mail. ESS survey is online. You have to just send a mail. So I've seen the organization where people are not even aware about their HR professional. So on one hand side, we are calling ourselves as an employee champion. On the other hand side, we are losing the people touch, and we are going into the excessive trap of that technology, and probably the technology we are using for our comfort rather than for the effectivity of the function. So that's an probably which we really need to see as an HR professional, how to use the technology without losing the people touch and without losing that banner of employee manager or probably the people manager, because all of you must have experienced whenever there is a problem of any employee, whenever there is a problem in their family, the first contact person in the organization is HR person. So they believe that we are expert. If they believe that we are expert, so we really need to make ourselves equipped to rest on their expectation, and that is only possible if we have the knack of people touch, if we have knack to understand what people are thinking, and if the people have trust on us, that if we go to this person, my problem will get resolved. At least someone is going to heard me out that probably every time you may not be able to give the solution, but you can be here to them for their concern. So that's the few things which I wanted to say from my end.
Great thought. And before I start, just because we could not start program on time, so you all allowed to continue for another 10 minutes, little more to exceed the timeline. All the three panel members again, they have given their very good understanding on today's topic. And the first thing was very important. What has come from Sanjita ma'am is about proactivity. And whether you practice IR or HR, proactiveness is something which can make your job, what you they say now, that customers delight. If you want to bring that delight factor, you have to be proactive, right? And this is something very important. The Smita ma'am, she has stressed more on training. So training, when you are doing just for sake of it, you shouldn't. You should have a very clear thought process, work on that, understand what you are imparting to the people. Let trainer be also very well informed what they want trainer to speak on during the course of. So this is something which is very important, because if you do right kind of training, people will learn that skills and try to. What is important is transfer effect of training. What learning you have done, how much you can implement at the workplace. That is what is going to be seen today. And again, Ashit sir has very well said, is about HR people need to try to away from jargons. Why we call it nth percentile of salary benchmark company? Why nth percentile? You talk very clearly. I want to be at median, means I want 50% above will be okay, but I want to work with those 50% and I want to get. Your percentile in all this business, people don't understand. And if you want to spread HR, you have to manage stakeholders. You have to convince them, because they are the people who are going to practice further. Many times people say that attrition, why so much attrition? Ask HR, why HR? Who deals with people maximum during the day? Not HR. Their supervisor, their manager, their people. How the HR can give certain governance framework, right? So this is something which is very relevant for today's topic. 2-3 important thing is the subject, understanding subject is something very important for HR. Whatever issue is coming to you, need to understand the issue completely and carefully. Number 2, you need to have to understand the purpose behind that. What purpose need to be served out of that? Third thing, detail orientation. If you are not getting into the depth of the things, you will not be able to really give justice to the cause. And last, and the most of the speakers have spoken, is about everything that you are going to position or you are going to present should be well supported by data and information. And data and information should be so authentic that it can be verified from. Suppose if you are showing that I have reduced employee cost, can finance people will certify what you are presenting. This is something very, very important. Before we just analyze today's topic, there are few things that I just want to bring it to for everybody's understanding. Please understand, today HR is expected to do two major roles. One is employee champion, and second thing is strategic partner. So when it comes to employee champion, what is required? We want to enable people to do things better. We all do performance appraisal. Many times, what is the core topic of performance appraisal? What you have done throughout the year or what you haven't done, right? How many times, and many times I have seen in organization where HR also sit, right? How many times we ask what employee has expected as a support system to produce that performance, whether that support has been provided him or not. How many times HR takes that as a point and discuss? Suppose if you want to increase productivity and he has asked for some automation, and for this you need a budget of 25 lakhs. And if that is not provided and given that this automation is to be completed by end of the first quarter, so that productivity will go for next 3 quarters. How many times HR tries to put this? How many times we record? We record whatever is expected in the goal sheet. But do we record what is expected employees asking as a support produce this performance? And that is where HR need to see as the role of a employee. Second important thing is when it comes to strategic partner, what is important is to bring positive right culture into the organization. Now, as like how Ashit sir has said, HR need to develop that courage and conviction to many times tell the truth. You have to tell if you want to really establish a positive culture in the organization, these are the few practices we have to do away with. You cannot have a discrimination. You cannot be biased approach. People can see openly that this is what has been meted out to him, but not to me. So I know it is very difficult, but HR need to at least try for this. Okay. Now, 3-4 points I just want to touch upon before we just as a concluding remark on today's what all these dignitaries have said. See, we all have been told about competitiveness, and we all say that the competitive advantage is people. But when it talks about competitiveness and we talks about strategy, competitiveness is not just strategy. People, HR will have to look at for competitiveness, what needs to be done and bring that strategic clarity onto the table. That is the role of HR, being a strategic partner. Okay. Organization is not about organization structure, or is not about the structure what we see, but it is a capability. And capability building is something which is very important. What for Apple is known today? Apple is known for speed. So that is their organizational capability. So your organization, when we talk about capability, it says that what you want your customers and stakeholders to be known to you for. Tata, we all know Tata is known for leadership. So this is what is the role of HR. Then change is not an event, but a process. Please understand, we all try for something which is to be done, it is to be done. But how many times when it comes in the discussion, what will the implications of this change? How it is going to affect, where it is going to fail, how it is going to work, and what finally, what is the objective, what purpose for which this change is bringing to the organization. This is to be known, and whether with the by way of implementing this change, all those purposes will be served or not. This is something very important, and these are the things which HR is expected to do. Culture is something everybody talks about. Culture is not values, because people say if you have organizational values, culture is an identity. if organization want to talk about you are a benevolent organization, you are an open organization, it needs to be seen. People, you need to showcase that in your day-to-day work. And that is where HR comes in place. Again, most important thing is leadership is not about people, about few people in the organization. But leadership is all about the training, the leadership development in the organization. How you are going to develop leadership, what process are you bringing, how you are going to make critical mass in the organization, how you are going to build them. You know, L&D, learning and development. Learning is not, L&D is not about only learning. L&D is all about what innovation you are bringing to the organization. So we all talk about today also we all deal with this one KPI on learning, number of training mandates in the year or number of training mandates per employee. These have gone. Today everybody need to work on work practice model. What is the ROI? ROI comes a little later, but at least are people implementing the learning at the workplace? That is what is the role of HR to look at. So these are few things which are very important when we say that the role is changing from what we have been doing. So I would say it is not changing, it is adding. Like what we said is the initial role of as an administrative expert, you are required to do all those things plus all these kind of. Today, the new concept which is coming for HR, they are calling HR as a growth manager. When organization is growing, who is going to ensure that whether people are developing those competencies and able to discharge those higher responsibilities? And this is what is HR need to look at. Today, the panel speakers, Mita ma'am and these people have said that transactional things are getting outsourced. Please understand transactional things are important, as I said. But transactional things should not be seen only as a transaction. You should not be limited with that. If you remain limited with that, you means all of us, then you will see today you are working with a great organization. Tomorrow you will be working with them service providing company. There are companies who are delivering PF and ESI, or company who are doing payroll, and you will have to start looking your employment there because you have not developed yourself for working for a vibrant organization. So this is something when it comes to the role, we still have administrative expert role is going to be there. In addition, the role of employee champion and strategic partner is something which is very important. As we said at the end, HR has really not failing what panel has said, which is true, but HR is making effort to introspect. Self-actualization is definitely going to add value for HR people, HR fraternity to look for what is expected out of them by the industry and the CEOs. Thank you so much. The house is open for Q&A. Any questions, please start. Anybody can. Yeah, please.
Namaste and good evening. I'm Kaustubh Sapre. Sir, I have questions, two questions only. One from training and placement officer point of view, as I came across many HR in day-to-day life, and our job is basically to place students and basically to provide internship to them. And another as an employee of the organization. So first I will take last one, that is employee of the organization. I did my internship in one of the PSUs during my education. And there the name of that HR department was Karmik Vibhag, personnel. It helped me to lower the expectations first. So I just wish to ask, is it like just because terminology हम लोग सुनते हैं, sorry I haven't done MBA, but to treat every human as a resource, they to again treat every resource as a human, and उसमें ये it's just like forgetting the Bodmas rule. 2+2/2 में कुछ अलग ही आंसर कर दिए. So can we say कि अभी भी चलो एचआर है और उनके वो सैटरडेज करवाते, रंगोली करवाते, एवरीथिंग, दे डोंट इवन फाइंड स्पेयर टाइम. ये सब देखते हुए कांट वी से कि जो पीएसयूज ने आज भी प्रैक्टिस रखी है, आई एम वेरी जूनियर टू ऑल ऑफ यू, प्लीज गो. सो ये कार्मिक विभाग कहना ही ज्यादा बेटर रहेगा इन्हें, बिकॉज इट विल हेल्प टू पर्स, क्योंकि हर बार इनको नहीं बदल सकते ना, क्योंकि सी इट्स नॉट अबाउट चेंजिंग द सिस्टम. यस,
कार्मिक विभाग
पर्सनल, यस.
किसी ने कहा है नाम में क्या रखा है. So, see, at the end of the day, when you are performing certain roles in the organization, आपका नाम कार्मिक विभाग हो, आपका नाम स्ट्रेटेजिक ह्यूमन रिसोर्स हो, आपका नाम पर्सनल मैनेजमेंट हो, सर ने जैसा कहा ग्रोथ मैनेजर हो, at the end of the day, you should know what is your roles and responsibility. ये जो प्रॉब्लम हम जो फेस करते हैं ना, मेनी टाइम्स द प्रॉब्लम व्हिच वी आर फेसिंग दैट वी आर नॉट कंप्लीटली अवेयर अबाउट व्हाट वी सपोज टू डिलीवर इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. That's the crux of problem. So unless and until we make ourselves clear what we are supposed to do, and again, every organization has their own dynamic. Suppose someone enter into the small organization and people say that कि नहीं यहाँ पे तो HR का कोई काम ही नहीं है. Trust me, we have not understood what we can deliver in the small organization. And similarly, if someone enter into the bigger organization, probably their roles and expectations are different. So every organization, every workplace has a different expectation, different areas to work upon, and different the capabilities the HR professional should display to deliver for the benefit of people, for the benefit of organization. So trust me, my friend, आप कार्मिक विभाग बोल लो, कुछ भी बोल लो, at the end of the day, we as an HR professional should understand our roles and responsibility and deliver to the best of our knowledge.
Okay, and
quickly ask you the next one.
Yeah. Is it due to company policy or anything else that even if we knock the gate of the company and be present there, sir, and we don't have the number because वो HR छोड़ के चले जाते हैं organization, वो switch कर लेते हैं, and वहाँ जब अप्रोच करना रहता है कि वी वुड लाइक टू मीट द एचआर, तो एचआर को मिलने नहीं देते, फिर वो हेवी इंडस्ट्रीज रहे या फिर एक नॉर्मल सी आईटी कंपनी जहाँ हार्डली 50 का स्टाफ है, वो गार्ड बता देता है कि नहीं भाई एचआर ने मना किया है, तो आप उनका अब नाम नंबर कहाँ से निकाले, हर बार लिंक्डइन का वो फ्रेश अकाउंट तो मिलता नहीं जो पेड रहता है. सो इन दैट केस आई अगेन रिक्वेस्ट यू कि isn't it a role of HR कि ये कंपनी को बताए कि let other people from industry, it's not being a TPO, और भी बातें, but ठीक है, it's not a forum right now, but the thing what do you feel कि यहाँ नहीं आना चाहिए HR का रोल कि एटलीस्ट जो भी कंपनी पर्सनल है उनको ये बताए कि अरे लोगों को मिलने दो. I mean क्या ही ले लेंगे आपसे आके. Yes please, thank you.
No, I don't think there are policies like that. Actually, it depends, it varies from the person to person who is heading the team of HR. You're comfortable in like
Yes.
आप open door policy रखते हैं या closed door policy रखते हैं? Actually, you have to be that sponge who takes, all the bad juice or all the punching, you are the punching bag for everything. So whatever happens inside the office, not only, also the outside, in the around the perimeter, everything is your responsibility, and you have to keep your eyes, ears, and also the doors open. From my experience, I can tell, even if, some domestic violence taking place in the thick of night in the employee's house, I think HR person is responsible, have to intervene if they want to preempt long-term consequences and maybe make trigger into, it could be a trigger for upcoming industrial accidents. So those who are saying, no, our doors are shut, we are not listening or we don't have time, I think they are not very faithful with their duties. That's my take on this.
छोटा सा
Yes please, thank you.
क्योंकि ये पेन मैंने सहा है ना,
Thank
तो
you.
5 साल पहले मैंने भी ट्रेनिंग प्लेसमेंट ऑफिसर थी, तो वहां से शुरुआत हुई. 2 चीजें हैं, लोग क्या कर सकते हैं, हम क्या कर सकते हैं, ठीक है. लोग क्या कर सकते हैं हम लोग कभी भी डिसाइड नहीं कर सकते कि एचआर में कैसा बिहेव करना चाहिए, आपको बताना चाहिए कि नहीं बताना चाहिए. इट इज हिज और हर डिस्क्रिप्शन. देयर इज नो पॉलिसी एज मैम एज rightly said, and we can't really help that. हम क्या कर सकते हैं लाइफ में, हम क्या कर सकते हैं वो हम सोच सकते हैं, राइट. सो नाउ इन दैट केस वीआई में आते रहिए. Okay, that's what I started doing. NIPM की मेंबरशिप नहीं हो तो ले लीजिए, NHRD की भी मेंबरशिप ले लीजिए, SHRM की भी ले लीजिए, लोकल, रीजनल, नेशनल, इंटरनेशनल. Okay, if you really want to grow as a person, you have to have a network. मतलब आज ऐसा है कि अगर 15-20 साल आप किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में या कहीं पे भी नौकरी कर रहे हैं और करियर किए हैं, आपके पास 100 लोगों का डेटाबेस होना चाहिए जो एक फोन आप करेंगे और रिसीव करेंगे. नहीं करेंगे तो आपको कॉल बैक करेंगे. And that is in your hands, right? What somebody can do and should do, you can never decide. Is what I have learned from my modest experience, right?
Okay.
तो आप जो अभी कर रहे हो आप सही रास्ते पे हो. आप यहाँ आ गए हैं तो आपकी नैया पार हो जाएगी. Thank you.
Networking. Quick,
Networking and communication. Exactly. Yes.
short question.
I'm Santosh Kandikumar. Question here, but just I want to know your thoughts on my query. So the HR department, they are working independently or under influence, because mostly of the time we have seen HR department how to be, working under influence of the senior authority or cross-function authority. Like see, in technical department, I think Ashish, you can understand. See, someone from the technical head side, he said something to implement to his downline team, including the HR at shop floor. Okay. तो उसमें क्या होता है कि see, then the HR department head may say कि yeah, this may be the internal issues or the issue of the technical person, because same thing has been discussed during the panel discussion. ये तो HR का काम नहीं है, they will understand mutually. But conflict is a conflict. So उसमें मुझे लगता है कि HR डिपार्टमेंट का इन्वॉल्वमेंट होना चाहिए, because they are now said to be change maker. हम लोग ये भी देखते हैं कि ग्रीवेंस हैंडलिंग मैकेनिज्म बहुत सारे कंपनीज में नहीं है, अब बहुत कम लोगों में है. अभी भी आते हैं कि वो ग्रीवेंस हैंडलिंग रजिस्टर जहाँ पे ग्रीवेंसेस एड्रेस किया जा सकता है, मेंशन किया जा सकता है, आपको नहीं मिलेगा. मिलेगा तब भी उसका स्टेटस नहीं मिलेगा. तो ये चीजों में आपका thought क्या है कि whether the HR department should be independent, like we have boards independent directors. So likewise, so should we have the HR department functions like the independent authority, irrespective of the the other authorities who have the direct influence on the power.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You will attend.
Actually, she was pointing at you.
Easy to convince.
We've already spoken, yes.
So see, आप तभी इंडिपेंडेंट हो सकते हो जब आपको इंडिपेंडेंस होने का पावर हो. इंडिपेंडेंस होने का पावर आपको तभी आ सकता है जब आपको बिजनेस पता हो. बिजनेस आपको तभी पता हो सकता है जब आप HR के हैट को निकालो और बिजनेस का हैट पहनो. आप इंडिपेंडेंट तभी हो सकते हो जब लोग आपके व्यूज को वैल्यू करें और आपके व्यूज में दम. आपके व्यूज में तभी दम आ सकता है जब आप फैक्ट के साथ बात करो, डेटा के साथ बात करो. अनफॉर्चुनेटली HR इंडिपेंडेंट इसलिए बहुत सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में हो नहीं पाता है, बिकॉज अगेन दैट्स एन आयरनी ऑफ द साइड. We many time feel that कि तो हमारा काम ही नहीं है. पहली चीज तो when someone talk about the productivity example, तो HR को लगता है मेरा काम नहीं है तो प्रोडक्शन का काम है. Someone talk about the some other issue grievances, ये मेरा काम नहीं किसी और का काम है. तो हम उस ट्रैप में फंस चुके हैं. So unless and until we develop that mindset, we are here to create a conducive atmosphere for a growth of organization. उस mindset में जब तक जाएंगे नहीं तब तक होगा नहीं. दूसरा देखिए, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट और कन्फ्रंटेशन हमको लगता है कि इट इज ऑलवेज अ नेगेटिव थिंग, बट ट्रस्ट मी, अनलेस एंड अनटिल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट और कन्फ्रंटेशन नहीं होगा, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कोई भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ग्रो नहीं हो सकती. सो बट व्हाइल एंटरिंग इनटू द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट एंड कन्फ्रंटेशन, आर वी इक्विप्ड इनफ टू एंटर इनटू दैट डोमेन दैट वी नीड टू थिंक. जस्ट फॉर एन एग्जांपल, आप इंटरव्यू में बैठते हो, टेक्निकल इंटरव्यू में बैठते हो, सपोज यू हैव टू हायर सम टेक्निकल पर्सन. सो मेनी पीपल आस्क मी क्वेश्चन कि HR का बंदा करता क्या है. तो आपने भी देखे होंगे कि आउट ऑफ Out of 100 interview, 99 interview, the HR person just sit as a mute spectator. Whereas the role of HR plays a very important role by selecting 80% of the organization. But are we playing our role? And why we are not playing our role, that we really need to introspect. जिस दिन हमको इसका आंसर मिल जाएगा, trust me, all of us will be independent.
Last question.
Good evening, sir. My name is Ganesh. I am from student of MIS, Maharashtra Institute of Labor Studies. सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि आप देखते हैं मीडिया ऑफ एम्प्लॉइज होते हैं जो एक महीने में आते हैं, एक महीने में छोड़ जाते हैं, एक महीने में, कोई एक साल में, छह महीने में। ऐसे रिटेंशन जो रेट है जो मैडम ने बताया था 47% बिगेस्ट इशू ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन रिटेंशन रेट का, उसे हम कम कैसे कर सकते हैं सर?
Speaker is spoken and yes,
Just
yeah.
give some glimpses.
See, उसका रीजन भी था ना, बर्नआउट फास्ट हो रहा है एंड आप सुन भी रहे होंगे किस तरह से मीडिया रिएक्ट करता है जब हमारे कुछ स्टॉल वर्ड्स ऑफ इंडस्ट्री देख से कि 70 आवर्स काम करना चाहिए, ओके, या संडे में आना चाहिए या नहीं आना चाहिए। नाउ जनरेशन चेंज हो गई है, शायद साहब ने 70 आवर्स किया है, मैंने कहीं 70 नहीं तो 60 आवर्स किया है, मैंने भी, आपने सारे संडे बिताए होंगे, मैंने सैटरडे के साथ साथ हाफ ऑफ संडे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में बिताए हैं, बट इफ यू एक्सपेक्ट द सेम थिंग, यू नो, yeah, now the changing because opportunities are more. If I insist on 70 hours here, Sunday में आओ, हर Sunday अपनी wife को मत देखो, बिल्कुल बच्चों को छोड़ दो. Not possible. You have different aspirations. You are different generation all together. I would say you are Gen Z. और Gen Z को experiences चाहिए, Gen Z को पैसे से ज्यादा उसको work life balance चाहिए. Plus हमारे पास opportunities नहीं थे. तो हमें यहाँ पे HR का ही माइंडसेट थोड़ा चेंज करना पड़ेगा. हाउ टू मेक वर्क मोर इंटरेस्टिंग. इनफैक्ट व्हेन आई वाज कमिंग हियर आई वाज टॉकिंग, दिल्ली से मैं आई हूँ, तो दिल्ली में मैं कुछ गुड़गांव में काफी सारी अच्छी ब्लू चिप कंपनियां हैं लाइक मैकेंजी एंड अदर्स. आई वाज टॉकिंग टू दीज यंग प्रोफेशनल्स. HR से कोई तुम लोग को इशू है? बिकॉज आई नीड सम एग्जांपल्स हाउ HR फेल्स. जैसे HR फेल्स? नो, नेवर. कोई इशू ही नहीं है हमको, कोई प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है. दिस वाज द response. Then further I inquired into it as to how do they perform, because they are taskmaster. सुबह 9 बजे से रात 8:30 से काम शुरू होता है, रात में 9, 10, 11 क्या बजेगा पता नहीं है. They give you all those, work from anywhere kind of flexibility. आज का लेटेस्ट ट्रेंड है कि आप अगर से लंदन में काम कर रहे हो उनके ऑफिस में, you can go to Paris, do work. I know examples, all those examples. You can go to Singapore, वहां से काम कर सकते हो, कोई इशू नहीं है, no bar. But the thing is, hard taskmaster. But they give lot of facilities, free wines. खाना आपको टेंशन नहीं लेना है, come there, you have beautiful breakfast laid out there. You have gym का membership giving, it's a give and take purely. कोई फ्री में 70 घंटे काम नहीं करेगा. आप उसकी प्रॉब्लम्स पे अटैक करो ना. अगर फैमिली का प्रॉब्लम है, बच्चे को स्कूल ड्रॉप करने का प्रॉब्लम है, केयर टेकर नहीं है, allow the kids to be brought inside the premises. यहाँ तक कि जो अच्छी कंपनियां हैं वो डॉग स्टे मनाती हैं, isn't it? वो खाना देती हैं, बढ़िया चाट पार्टी करती हैं, and happy employees, they deliver, they don't bother about the time, I'm sure, right? And they don't quit. So we have to ensure that employees are happy, they are not working under some compulsion. Yeah.
Is it possible to have organization?
Yeah. Okay. So it's a small. शॉर्ट स्टोरी. लोग छोड़ के जा रहे हैं ना, तो ये किरण मजूमदार शॉ का नाम सुना है आपने? मिथ ब्रेकर करके बहुत बेहतरीन किताब लिखी है उन्होंने, एंड बायोकॉन जैसी इंडस्ट्री चला रही है. When she started the organization, she asked her father, who was a successful businessman, but she said, I'll do it my way. I don't want your money and anything. I'll build my own business. But मुझे टिप दे दीजिए कि how will I retain my people? On talent retention उसने क्वेश्चन पूछा. तो फादर ने उनको जवाब दिया कि treat your employee like a mother treats her child inside the womb. When the child is inside the womb, okay, the way the mother takes care of the child who is not even born, वैसी care लीजिए. And that's what Kiran Majumdar Shah's father has said, what she has all practiced, and Biocon, rest is history. You have to ensure that. That's in your hands.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smita. And I hope you have cleared all your doubts. And now I invite, I request Manoj ji to please announce the name of today's participant, lucky participant.
Karan Satpute. Come forward.
Yes.
Madam,
It's
just come here for the first time.
Oh, really? Let me see who's lucky day today then. Eat that frog now.
You can call her.
Oh, yeah. Become my youngest HR person.
No, you have to pick,
You have to pick one, just pick one.
And give
Shake it
give
properly.
it to madam, give it to madam.
Yeah.
Shreya can read the name also.
You read the name, just face the audience. Please face the
My
audience.
English skills are test now.
Udhar face karo. You can't read it? Even Harpal Prasad Sahu.
Oh, wow. You can have a picture with madam, no?
yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Goyal. Now I invite Saurabh Singh to summarize the session and begin the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. वैसे मनोज सर ने ऑलरेडी सम अप कर दिया सबका जो सब है, बाकी लोगों ने जो बोला था मैंने काफी चीजें लिखी थी, बट लाइक आई एम वेरी थैंकफुल कि आप लोग यहाँ आए और इस टाइप के प्रोग्राम्स जो है NIPM BIE HRD फोरम हमेशा करते रहता है ताकि हम लोग नई चीजें सीख सके एंड लाइक जो फेलियर वाला एस्पेक्ट है हमारी लाइफ में कभी ना आए। और बाकी बहुत सारी चीजें सर ने डिस्कस किया। मैं सर काफी एक्सपर्ट है लेकिन फिर भी लाइक मैं 15 ईयर्स से फैसिलिटी मैनेजमेंट इंडस्ट्री में हूँ। मैं काफी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के साथ हम लोगों ने काम किया है, महिंद्रा, टाटा, लोअर जो MSMEs हैं उनके साथ भी काम किया, तो थोड़ा बहुत हम लोग भी सीखे हैं। लाइक हमारा जो मेन पाला पड़ता है HR से ही पड़ता है, ठीक है, तो उसमें कुछ कुछ चीजें हैं। एक तो लाइक इट इज अ कंटिन्यूअस लर्निंग प्रोसेस। जो HR जो है वो HR क्या एवरी ह्यूमन बीइंग, मतलब आपको नई चीजें सीखनी चाहिए, ठीक है। आप जो भी कंपनी में आप ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं तो आपको बिजनेस मॉडल पता रहना चाहिए कि वो कंपनी का बिजनेस मॉडल क्या है, उसमें कौन कौन से डिपार्टमेंट्स हैं, ठीक है। तो बिकॉज आप जब हायरिंग में, जिस मनोज सर डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि जस्ट बीइंग अ म्यूट स्पेक्टेटर, अगर आप कोई टेक्निकल डिपार्टमेंट का इंटरव्यू हो रहा है उसमें अगर आप, तो थोड़ा सा आपको उसके बारे में भी पता रहना चाहिए कि जो प्रोफाइल है उसका थोड़ा स्टडी करिए, कंपनी के बारे में स्टडी करिए। अब मैं ज्यादा टाइम नहीं लूंगा, काफी चीजें हैं, लेकिन अभी आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड कि थोड़ा सा प्रोग्राम लेट हुआ। आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक ऑल द लाइक पैनलिस्ट, ऑल द ऑडियंस, students, HR IR professionals and senior HR teachers, ठीक है। भावे सर हमारे सबके गुरु हैं, उनको स्पेशल थैंक्स। विवेक नागवीरे सर को, सुहास बिरेवार सर को, बाकी सब लोग डायस पे हैं। पीछे डेविड राजू सर है, अगली बार पैनल में डेविड राजू सर भी रहेंगे, विजय कुमार डाटा साहब भी रहेंगे, ठीक है। बाकी लोग, अगर मैं किसी को मिस करूं तो आई एम सॉरी। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर गिविंग योर टाइम, वैल्यूएबल टाइम। थैंक यू सो मच।